exploring unknown tech, decoding future unicorns. Welcome to Product X, using the sharp intuition of capital and the hardcore logic of an architect to help you catch the next big event in the global tech sphere. Hello, everyone. I'm Rena. Today, we're diving into a highly counterintuitive tech product. In an era where smartphones can replace nearly all portable electronic devices, a Y Combinator incubated startup named Pocket has somehow managed to sell an insane 130,000 units of a $129 credit card-sized AI voice recording hardware device over the past year. They just announced the completion of an $11 million funding round, backed by top-tier VCs like Accel and Y Combinator, plus even the CEO of ElevenLabs poured in his own money. Vivian, want to kick us off?
Hey, Rena. Thanks for having me. I'm Vivian, a senior angel investor at Pre-Angel Fund, and I've been watching this space for years. Honestly, when I first saw the numbers on Pocket, I immediately thought, this is the perfect razor and blade playbook. Hardware as the Trojan horse, SaaS as the real money printer.
Nolan, your turn.
Hey everyone, I'm Nolan, former CTO at a couple of big tech companies in Silicon Valley, and I've spent most of my career building exactly the kind of back-end systems that make products like Pocket actually work. Super excited to break this down with you both today.
Perfect. So here's the core question that keeps bouncing around my head. Our smartphones already have excellent microphones, and Apple literally gives us free voice transcription. Why would anyone pay $129 for a separate device and then another $200 per year? Vivian, let's start with the money. What's the investment thesis here?
Great question. Here's the thing. When I look at Pocket, I don't see a hardware company at all. I see a high-margin SaaS business wearing a hardware costume. The math is pretty brutal in a good way. 130,000 units at $129 gives them about $16.7 million in upfront revenue, which essentially covers their manufacturing costs. But the real goldmine is the back-end subscription. If even 20% of those buyers convert to the $200 annual plan, that's $5.2 million in ARR right there. And the beautiful part is the retention moat. You've already spent real money on a physical object stuck to your phone, so you're way less likely to cancel than if you were just running an app. That's the anti-churn mechanism that makes Accel, a traditionally software-only fund, actually get comfortable with hardware.
Right. But what really caught my attention is the automated pipeline behind the scenes. Most people think it's about better microphones, and yeah, the directional array and DSP processing definitely help in noisy environments. But here's the thing. The real magic is what happens after you hit record. With a phone, you record, then you manually export, then you upload somewhere else, then you copy-paste into your notes. It's a multi-step nightmare. Pocket automates the entire chain. One button capture, cloud transcription, LLM extraction, and then it directly pushes formatted summaries to Obsidian, to Google Drive, or even to Claude for deeper reasoning. That end-to-end data ingestion pipeline is what turns a $129 gadget into an enterprise workflow tool.
Wait, hold on, you're both saying the hardware is almost secondary? That feels counterintuitive given how much they raised on it.
Honestly, yeah. The hardware is essentially customer acquisition cost dressed up as a product. In venture terms, it's a ridiculously cheap CAC play. The subscription is where the compounding happens. And the fact that the ElevenLabs CEO personally invested, that's a huge signal. It tells the market that audio capture and generation will be deeply tied to dedicated edge hardware in the future. It's not about the microphone. It's about owning the data ingestion point.
I want to push back a little, though. The technical moat here is actually shallower than it looks. They're calling the same whisper models and LLMs as everyone else. The moment Apple or Google integrates native multimodal recording at the OS level, global capture, automatic summarization, cross-app distribution, these little gizmos could get crushed. They need to use this funding to lock in enterprise integrations like Salesforce, Notion, Obsidian as hard as possible. Make switching painful.
That's a fascinating tension. So, Vivian, from your investment lens, how worried should they be about the big tech giants waking up?
Extremely. That's why the B2B integration play is so critical. They're not just selling to individuals. They need to become the default recording layer for meetings, for sales calls, for professional workflows. The deeper they embed in enterprise tools, the higher the switching costs. But yeah, the clock is ticking. They need to move fast.
And honestly, From the engineering side, that's the only path forward. Build the integrations, own the workflow, become indispensable before the OS vendors decide to compete. Hardware is just the entry point. The API mesh is the fortress.
Okay, let's switch gears. Here's my next question. The market already has Plaud, Mobvoi, and let's not forget pure software players like Otter and Zoom. What's Pocket's actual competitive differentiator? Why them and not anyone else?
Pricing aggression, mostly. Pocket understood something crucial. The hardware margin is irrelevant. Get the devices out there at cost or near cost, own the relationship, monetize through the subscription. Plaud is still playing a more traditional hardware plus software game. Pocket went all in on the SaaS flywheel, and that pricing power lets them scale faster than anyone else in the space.
But I'll say this pricing only gets you so far. The integration depth is the real differentiator. If they can make the Obsidian and Claude workflow truly seamless, that's a habit that's hard to break. The question is whether they can execute on that back end fast enough.
Quick example from your worlds.
I backed a company last year that did something similar. Sold a $50 kitchen gadget, charged $150 annually for recipe suggestions. Same playbook. The hardware disappears into the background, and the subscription becomes the actual product. It works until someone better funded copies you. That's Pocket's risk.
The equivalent on the tech side is like when everyone built smart speakers. The hardware was commoditized fast. The winners were the ones who owned the voice assistant ecosystem. Pocket needs to own that ecosystem layer, not the microphone.
Okay, last big question before we lighten up. Both of you have been around this block. What's your honest take on the long-term viability? Are we looking at a $500 million company or a $5B company?
Honestly, it depends entirely on execution. The model is sound. The market is there. If they hit 500,000 or 1 million units and get to $50 million plus in ARR, they're in IPO territory. If they fumble the enterprise integration, they become a niche gadget. The funding gives them a 2-year runway to prove it.
I'd add the technical execution is the bottleneck. They need to nail the automated pipeline reliability, the API uptime, the integration breadth. That's hard. But if they pull it off, they've built something that Apple can't just replicate overnight because they own the workflow end to end.
All right, time for some lightning round. Quick answers, no overthinking. First question. What's the one thing about Pocket that most people get wrong?
That they're a hardware company.
That the microphone is the product.
Second biggest risk factor, in one word?
Google.
Apple.
Third most underrated competitor?
Actually, I'd say Notion. They could add voice capture tomorrow and eat everyone's lunch.
I'd say the OS vendors themselves. Not a competitor yet, but the biggest existential threat.
Fourth, if you had to bet on one thing Pocket does next, what is it?
Aggressive enterprise sales team.
More API integrations. Definitely.
Last one, are you buying one?
Honestly, yeah. Already ordered it.
Same. Had to see the workflow myself.
I love it. Vivian, in one sentence, what's the takeaway from today's conversation?
Pocket is a SaaS company disguised as hardware. The $129 device is just the entry ticket to a recurring revenue machine, and the real battle is locking users into an ecosystem before the giants wake up.
Nolan.
The hardware is the door, but the automated pipeline and enterprise integrations are the house you actually want to live in.
Well said. Through Vivian's financial lens on the razor and blade SaaS model and Nolan's hardcore breakdown of the edge audio and LLM routing pipelines, we can see Pocket's success validates something fascinating. In this hyper-app saturated world, a simple physical button and a dedicated workflow might actually deliver more value than trying to build everything into a smartphone. Thanks for tuning in to Product X. If you want to catch the next deep dive, make sure to like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.